From the beginning of my work, I was aware that the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda would drop the proceedings against the association and all those involved. Money laundering by employees of a bank weighs heavily, but the golden calf, the municipal savings bank, must not be slaughtered under any circumstances. Savings banks are too important for local politics for that. The procedure I have initiated could otherwise have a signal effect for other savings banks. In view of the fact that there are slush funds in almost every club, the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda was able to make this decision easily. However, if I wanted to achieve something, I had to count on the responsible authorities making mistakes. Otherwise, the matter will be swept under the rug. After all, this kind of nepotism is something you experience all the time, and abuse of office is usually behind it. In order to give the public prosecutor the impression that they don't have to take the matter seriously and are therefore acting carelessly, I gave the impression of being just a troublemaker and wanting to show off. In addition to the many criminal charges, I have made numerous inquiries, factual supplements, complaints, and even requests for arrest warrants to be issued. In the period from May 2nd, 2019 to May 3rd, 2020, a total of 25 letters were sent to the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda by fax. The tree was shaken to see what fell down. With my criminal complaint to the Bonn Public Prosecutor's Office for aiding and abetting money laundering against the employee of the BaFin's Money Laundering Office dated January 29, 2021 under file number 680J6021. This had to be handed over to the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda as expected due to lack of responsibility. This meant that the small Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda had to start investigations into aiding and abetting money laundering against employees of a federal agency. This circumstance is, of course, not acceptable for the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda. Before that, on January 28, 2021, I filed a criminal complaint under file number 280J2329/21 against the mayor, CDU, of the city of Fulda for aiding and abetting money laundering. In his office as Lord Mayor, he is chairman of the board of directors of Sparkas Fulda. On January 26, 2021, he wrote that he had discussed the matter with the board of directors. When I called Mr. H., the managing director of the SPD Subdistrict Fulda, on February 2nd, 2021, he was surprised by this news, as he was not aware of any board meeting regarding this. As described in the previous episode, such an event is very important in terms of local politics, so that the board members usually appear in full. This means that the Lord Mayor either did not hold the above-mentioned meeting of the board of directors, or he did not properly invite to it. Whatever the case, he has breached his duties as a director. On February 2nd, 2021, the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda announced that it had initiated proceedings against the mayor under file number 280J2329/21. Then, on March 31, 2021, it was announced that no investigations were being carried out against the BaFin employee, since the procurement proceedings against the money launderers had already been discontinued on April 14, 2020. This means, however, that the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda should have rejected investigations against the mayor for the same reason. But it didn't. It is therefore clear that the reference proceedings against the money launderers were discontinued retrospectively when the Fulda Public Prosecutor's Office saw itself exposed to the fact that an employee of the Money Laundering Office of the BaFin had to investigate for aiding and abetting money laundering. As part of my official complaint to the General Public Prosecutor's Office in Frankfurt, under file number 3133E1019/, it was pointed out on February 9, 2021 that the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda approved investigations against the mayor for aiding and abetting money laundering. But on January 15, 2021, investigations for aiding and abetting money laundering against the board of directors of Sparkas Fulda, on the other hand, were refused. The allegation of nepotism is rejected at this point by the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda. If the allegations of nepotism are actually unfounded, the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda got informed on February 23, 2021 that one of the board members of the association has identified himself as an assistant to the management of EDAG Engineering GmbH during the criminal proceedings. For the company, which has its roots in the Fulda region, the behavior of its employee means potential reputational damage if it becomes known that the company's board of directors is letting tax evaders and money launderers prepare its business management. The accusation that the Public Prosecutor's Office, taking these circumstances into account, did not act remains unanswered. In this context, on February 24, 2021, the company was informed of the suspicion of nepotism with the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda and asked to comment. With reference to the EDAG Group's Code of Conduct, the compliance officer of the company rejects this accusation and threatens to file a criminal complaint in accordance with paragraphs 186 and 187 of the German Criminal Code and affirms that he has behaved in accordance with the Code of Conduct. You have to know that the German company, EDAG Engineering Group AG, is listed on the Swiss Stock Exchange in free flow. In the annual report, the company refers to a regulatory gap between German and Swiss law, so that one is not obliged to comply with a corporate governance code. If one observes the hit dogs barking, then this gives reason to take a closer look at the circumstances. EDAG is an engineering company with a focus on the automotive industry. In the company's history, the company has tried several times unsuccessfully to free itself from its dependency on its customers through flagship projects and to enter the end customer market with its own products. This strategy has not yet been abandoned and is being tried again with the CityBot project. The management has now understood that this can only be the wet dream of an industrial engineering student in the second semester. Fixed cost aggression is only a good concept if you do it right. Conceptually, the idea of a modular universal vehicle suffers from the fact that the operation of a machine requires a capacity utilization of 80% in order to be able to operate it economically. Even with 100% utilization of the basic vehicle, the unused modules can never lead to a utilization of 80% with regard to an economical operation in the context of an overall cost analysis. Therefore, the company is trying to sell its CityBot to government agencies. But even that can only succeed if one day there is software for this autonomous vehicle that can control it. When asked about the background of such useless flagship projects, one can assume that it is about window dressing to help the company to gain a higher share price as part of its stock market listing. The company is behaving suspiciously overall, pointing out that the EDAG Engineering Group AG has every reason not to see itself obliged to comply with the corporate governance code with regard to its tax evading and money laundering assistance to the management thanks to a regulatory gap. The Swiss FINMA is asked to comment on March 23, 2021. After FINMA announced on October 13, 2021, that the law provides for self-regulation for the Swiss financial market under the supervision of FINMA. FINMA was then asked to explain how it aims to achieve Article 4 FINMA on FINMA, protection of creditors and investors, implements. The FINMA then announced on October 20, 2021. We also informed you that EDAG Engineering Group AG does not have a license from FINMA for activities in Switzerland and is therefore not monitored by FINMA. Back then, the head of FINMA was Mr. Mark Branson. More on that in Season 4, Episode 2. After nothing could be achieved via a complaint to the General Public Prosecutor's Office in Frankfurt, a complaint had to be lodged with the Hessian Ministry of Justice under file number 4121/1E, III/4, 2020/18220, III/A. The last request from February 8, 2023 on the current processing status of the complaint was not answered. Considering this background, one must remember that the Hessian Regional Tax Office also ignored the behavior of the Fulda Tax Office in relation to the precedent of the Cell Higher Regional Court. A publication of the business documents of the association could not be achieved in this way. The Hessian Minister of Finance is responsible for the Fulda Tax Office and the Hessian Regional Finance Department. With my complaint of November 25, 2019, it was still Dr. Thomas Schaefer. He rejected my complaint under file number O1021B3030, I-6 on February 10, 2020. On July 11, 2021, the Hesse Minister for European Affairs, Lucia Putrich, announced that she would support the establishment of a European authority to combat money laundering in Frankfurt. In my email of July 14, 2021, I expressed my surprise to Ms. Putrich, referring to my observations of money laundering by the employees of Sparkas Fulda. I also refer to my complaint to the Hessian Ministry of Finance about the Fulda Tax Office and the Hessian General Tax Office. The fact that the Public Prosecutor's Office in Fulda has retrospectively stopped its money laundering investigations, and that the BaFin has rejected a paragraph 44 KGODUG audit is also stated. Reference is also made to the complaint to the responsible Regional Council in Kassel under file number Z538814-09, and how the responsible Savings Bank and Giro Association in Hesse-Thuringia also rejected an examination. With reference to the fact that the Hessian state government was also informed about the aforementioned circumstances in my letter to the Hessian Prime Minister Volker Bouffier, dated March 2, 2020, I inform Ms. Putrich of the following. Of course, I'm not sending you this letter because I expect clarification from you. Rather, I assume that you will not be able to comment on the circumstances described. I am sending you this letter to clarify what questions the European Commission will ask you if you are requested to justify your desire for a European anti-money laundering office to be established in Frankfurt. As expected, Ms. Putrich did not reply to this email. This circumstance prompted me to apply for a petition under the file number 954/2021 at the European Parliament on September 1, 2021 with a detailed description of my findings. With the title Denial for Implementing a European Authority for Anti-Money Laundering in Germany, I not only describe what disqualifies the Frankfurt location with regard to the failure of the financial and judicial authorities to clarify money laundering at the Sparkas Fulda. I also describe how Germany disqualified itself as a location for this authority after the Bundestag Investigative Committee turned a blind eye on money laundering at Wirecard. Since the BaFin fully consciously refused its official tasks and obligations at both Wirecard and Sparkas Fulda, the petition also contains the information that the former Federal Minister of Finances Olaf Scholz got already informed on December 27, 2020 about the failure of the BaFin in both cases. In summary, it can be said that the Petitions Committee has determined that my petition is admissible, but that the European Parliament is aware of the importance of money laundering and terrorist financing, and therefore sees no need for action. However, the justification does not address the actual purpose of the petition, not to select Germany as the location for the ANLA. The decision on the location of the ANLA is expected to be announced in early 2024, according to the current announcement.